Okay, so can you tell me who you are first of all?
Yes, well, I'm Betsy Berry. I was single then. I was Betsy Clark. But I went into the Air Force when I became old enough. And my two brothers, one of them went into the Navy, the other went into the Army. He was in the DM. And we went really partly because it was a time of poverty. We were so poor, and this way you got $1 a day plus your clothes. And that was really a fine offer for most young people. If I thought that was what was driving people into war now, I would wonder, because I've heard now that the soldiers who are going to war, particularly in America, are the poor kids. So that might be another reason that poverty is, but it'll never be solved.
There's a film producer, his name is Michael Moore, who did a film about,
I've seen his
and he was,
he interviewed the congressman, and not one of them had a son in the war. That's the sad part.
That's right.
But because I was in the Second World War, and because I feel strongly for peace, I'm not against the soldier having a peaceful work to do. They certainly should have a military who will guard and so on. But to send them off to foreign wars, to just be, maimed or come back in such a mess that they never have another normal day in their lives, it's a crime. Someone once said it's bad enough for people to go to war and kill one another, but when they send their children, it's an immoral act. And that's what I believe.
So you started a coalition.
Yes. I'm a veteran against nuclear arms. We had a very, very big Canadian group. Most of us are over 80, I'll say, because the World War is that old. And so many of the locals have disbanded, but we haven't. Our group still meets monthly, and we have coordinated our activities with Project Plowshares, which is the other church. All the churches, many of the churches are part of that, where we work strongly for peace and peace research. So yes, it keeps us busy. I'm not sure that we'll be able to solve this thing in our time, but at least we'll be trying.
Do you think that we are on the precipice of a third world war? Do you think it's that serious? Given your own experience?
It could escalate into that. You take, for instance, there are many countries now that have nuclear weapons. Like we have Korea. Why didn't we go into Korea when there was the first Middle East uprising?
Because a crazy man runs that country.
Crazy man runs that country, but at the same time, they have nuclear weapons.
Right.
So we don't want them on us.
Yes.
So the idea is that the more people who get those things, the more dangerous it is. Not so much that governments or that organizations even will act. Terrorists can get material that can cause vast problems. And I think that's the sad part.
In your opinion, do you feel that there are elements of various governments, including maybe our own government, that are responsible for some of these terrorist groups obtaining some of these weapons, some of these chemicals?
If we are developing armaments to the extent that I understand we are, our objective is not total peace, is it? I mean, let's just be common sense about that. So, what do we say about our government? If our government is openly coming out and supporting Barack Obama's threat to drop missiles into Syria, then we are complicit. There is no question about it. You can't be, as the man said in the article that I read today, you can't be half pregnant. So,
good point.
Yeah.
So
that's the way I feel about it. Is that it's really, we have to say, absolutely nothing to do with this thing. Get away from it.
So if Congress comes back and says, yes, we're giving the president the go-ahead to go into Syria, and the president goes and there is retaliation on all sides and we end up in a world war, how do you think this country will fare financially, with economically, I guess, with jobs and that sort of thing?
Who knows? You know, it's easy to get into these things as they found out when they went into it. It's very difficult to get out of them. And the people have been suffering for it. And not only financially, what we have to talk about is self-respect. It used to be that the Americans when I lived in Europe, they used to love my Canadian flag. Americans would meet me and say, "You have one of those, I'd like to wear that." People love Canadians. Well, I'm just beginning to think that they're going to stop loving Canadians when we start supporting these war measures that are completely illegal. You know? And I think this is a shame because we've been able in this country to manage to